Hello everyone, this is Shannon from That's So Po, and today I am doing day 2 of the Kwanzaa Reflect-A-Thon. If you're not familiar with the Kwanzaa Reflect-A-Thon, I'll leave all the information below. It is run by Njeri at ONYX Pages, and it's an opportunity to reflect about the books that we've read this year. So day 2 is the principle of Kujichagulia, which is self-determination. The prompt for this is to focus on a African-descended LGBTQ character who inspired you because they were determined. First on my list is Don't Call Us Dead by Dennis Smith. This is a poetry collection, and it's all about being Black, being queer, and having HIV. So within the Black, queer, HIV community, really life is very precious, but is often written off. And I think this poetry collection shows someone who is fighting against the expectation that they will kind of not make it, that their life is over. And there's so much determination and will to survive. It's absolutely a beautiful collection. And it also talks a lot about just the whole community and how many Black men are lost constantly. So I just love that determination and the idea of don't write us off. We aren't dead, we are still alive and meaningful. I found that very empowering. Next on my list is Hunger by Roxane Gay. This is her memoir. If you haven't read it, I really highly recommend the audio version. She narrates it herself and is just the best narrator you could ever hope for. Absolutely amazing narration. And this is her memoir, her story. She is queer and she's Black, and she deals with being overweight, severely overweight, and has gone through sexual abuse and trauma and so much, and yet is still so determined and speaks out against a lot of the kind of fat phobia, a lot of the kind of issues of sexism and racism and so many things that are going on in the world today. And I just find that determination for somebody who's dealt with so many difficult things, but still finding their voice and speaking out and dealing with all of the pain and hunger for completion that she feels, and yet still doing all of these things in the world. It's so determined, and I find it very, very powerful. And lastly, An Unkindness of Ghost by Rivers Solomon. This is a science fiction book about a generation spaceship, and this generation spaceship is sort of set up like the antebellum South, where there are different decks on the spaceship, like A to Z, and at the top decks, the ABC, are the rich white people, and at the bottom level decks are the Black, poor, and basically enslaved people. The main character in this, Aster, is non-binary and is also dealing with autism and so many other things. And they are also brilliant. They're a doctor, they're a scientist, and they fight against the system. Even though they have all these things going against their situation, so many difficulties, so much abuse and trauma as well, they fight on and they say, this is not okay. The situation, the status quo is not okay. And they upend the system, and it's just beautiful to see that kind of revolution happen, especially by the most downtrodden. So clearly the books in this list are super emotional and moving for me. I find this topic very, very powerful. I loved all of these books. If anybody else has any recommendations for books that you think really showed self-determination, please share them with me in the comments below, and I will check in with you on day 3.